San Antonio in front of Arlington. Happy St. Patrick's Day weekend. Can you believe we're already midway through the regular season of the XFL? Let's look back at the sights and sounds of the first half.
When they told you that the dream was over. But here's the truth. Your dream is just beginning. XFL, let's ball out, baby!
Gotta get on the ball! McCarron has a receiver, caught in probable fashion for the Battlehawks. Gordon caught it! Gordon's backstepping! Gordon's gonna score!
This is one of the most insane catches I've ever seen.
F block Mike Leach.
They're gonna look for a double pass.
Touchdown! Touchdown! Touchdown!
I made history.
You got my back. I got your back. You got my back. I got your back. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
What a great start to this season. I can't wait till next week.
This is special, and I can't thank the XFL enough. It's been awesome.
What is up, my friends, and welcome to another edition of the OG XFL Week in Review. I'm your host, Mark Perry, editor of XFL News Hub, your all-football media guru, episode 191. We are a little late, but we are live. Got back from the family event, and I was like, let's just go live. Let's just have fun with it. Let's just go live. So on this show, we've got coaching and player news. A big-name quarterback has come to the XFL. Big-name wide receiver has come to the XFL. You're going to want to stick around for that. We got injury news, depth chart, our DFS picks, and our XFL ladder, how to make $5 into $10,000. I'll explain that later in the program. Yes, we tried to start this ladder next week, but there was the big upset. That didn't work, so what are you going to do? So if you like football, then like and subscribe to this channel. Hit the notification bell to get alerts. Let's hit that like button. Let's get to 100 likes, shall we? Because we are now past the halfway point. We are going into week 6. So if you want to be part of the show, it's really simple, friends. It's really simple. All you have to do is email podcast at XFL News Hub with your thoughts, record an MP3 or video on your phone, 888-430-7692 extension 3. We'll do all of that stuff on Monday's show. But we're not going to do a Monday show because we're going to be at the game. So we will be live on Tuesday to talk about the game. But I like any kind of, if you got video, if you got pictures, whatever you got from being at the games, send it my way and we'll play it on the show. I really want to see what you guys are seeing out there. XFL Week in Review, you can find us on everything, Apple and Spotify. Leave us a review. We appreciate that. That's always nice of you. Live every week, well, except for today, and except for we switch the schedule around just like the XFL does. But usually, we're live at 8 p.m. Eastern every Monday and Thursday, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and so forth. That's where we're always at there. So on this week's show, we're going to hit the ratings first. We've got some coaching news. We'll get into some player news, and then we will get into our DFS picks and a little bit later in the show. But we have a lot to get to. So without further ado, folks, let's just get into the week that was the XFL. The XFL Week 5 cable ratings are in from ESPN and FX, and let's just say they took a little big hit, I guess. So the XFL slate of 4 cable telecasts on FX, ESPN, and ESPN2 stared directly into the eye of the March Madness storm. So 18 of the XFL's 20 games have aired on cable, each airing as well on ESPN+. The league's only 2 airings on network television, ABC, averaged over 1.6 million viewers, with a peak at 2.3 million in Week 1. The XFL finally returns to over-the-air network television this coming week on ABC, but the league has a lot of competition for eyeballs, as evidenced by their viewership numbers in week number 5. So let's take a look. So for Week 5 in the XFL kicked off late Thursday night game at 10:30 p.m. Eastern on ESPN between the Seattle Sea Dragons and previously unbeaten Houston Roughnecks. The telecast took a beating in viewership, averaging only 256,000 viewers. The game rated 48th out of 150 cable TV shows in that all-important 18 to 49 demo. Friday's coverage of the NCAA basketball tournament were 21 out of the top 22 rated cable TV shows across TNT, TBS, and True TV. That is just tough to battle. The first part of Saturday night doubleheader on FX, which saw the DC Defenders top the St. Louis Battlehawks in front of over 35,000 fans at the Dome, averaged 320,000 viewers. Telecast ranked 50 out of 150. Saturday's 10 p.m. Eastern telecast on FX, which featured two winless teams in Vegas and the Guardians, averaged 234,000 viewers, the lowest viewership total for an XFL game this season. The game ranked 73rd out of 150 cable shows in that top demo. The final game of Week 5 featured the Arlington Renegades and San Antonio Brahmas on ESPN2. Thought this would do a little bit better because it's on ESPN2. But the 9 p.m. telecast averaged 246,000 viewers. The game ranked 71st out of 150 cable TV shows. So the quick XFL TV analysis on the ratings. Not a pretty week for the XFL in terms of viewership. Losing casual sports viewers to NCAA and March Madness is an expected outcome, but didn't help matters that the odd scheduling by Disney for XFL games. Not only has it hurt attendance in specific markets and prohibited families from coming to late night weekday or Sunday games, it has a direct effect on luring viewers. By scheduling games that passed 1 a.m. in half the country, you eliminate viewers. I was tired of staying up all night and doing stuff after the game. There was nights I was up either till 1 o'clock in the morning on the East Coast or even up till 3 o'clock in the morning doing fantasy and recaps of games. So you can't, it doesn't help you at all. It doesn't help you at all by putting late games on. So there's no getting around the fact that the league's viewership and overall interest in March will take a hit. We all knew that. That's an expected result. But the optics create the feel of a league struggling to stay relevant, which is unfortunate. The XFL is returning to ABC this weekend, which could help with some added visibility, but the league needs to weather the storm and hope that viewership returns later this season. Although it's in a different part of the calendar, the USFL, remember, had struggled to get a foothold in viewership on cable TV last season. By mid-season, seeing some games hit under 300,000, the USFL did, and having over-the-air network telecast had dipped into the 300,000 territory. The USFL was able to get to the finish line in decent shape when the smoke cleared. Now, can the XFL in 2023, can they do the same? That remains to be seen. So the Week 6 TV schedule, the XFL returns to a more traditional schedule this coming week with 2 ABC games in the afternoon, Saturday and Sunday. That's good. At 1 and 3 p.m. Eastern, respectively. People can go to those games and bring their family and friends. The lone FX telecast takes place Saturday night at 7 p.m. Okay, we're still games over at 10. That's fine. The Week 6 finale sees the 4-1 Houston Roughnecks square off against the 5-0 DC Defenders. That's a Monday night at 7 p.m. Eastern on ESPN2. Would love to see that game flex to ABC, but that won't happen. So you got the Seattle Sea Dragons at Orlando Guardians. That's at 1 p.m. on Saturday, March 25th. That is on ABC. Then you have the Battlehawks, St. Louis Battlehawks at Vegas Vipers. Battlehawks are on the road. That's at 7 p.m. on FX. Then Brahmas at Renegades. Not the greatest game to put on ABC. Both teams are struggling. We saw what they did this past week. That's at 3 p.m. And then the game of the week, Houston Roughnecks at DC Defenders. That is set a Monday night game, 7 p.m. Eastern on ESPN2. As for attendance numbers, for the March 16th game at the Roughnecks Seattle Sea Dragons, that had 9,231 people, and that was on ESPN, a late night game. That affected viewership and attendance. Then you had the March 18th game with the Battlehawks DC Defenders. That was 35,868. That was on FX. And then you had the Orlando Guardians Vegas Vipers game. That was the attendance for that one on March 18th was 6,008. Seems like Vegas Vipers will be that kind of 6,000 range. And then finally, the Arlington Renegades at Brahmas. We were hoping maybe getting 20,000-ish for that. That was, again, 13,274. So we knew this would be the lull of the season. It really matters is how we finish. We'll just have to keep an eye on things, but it's going to start to get tough. Major League Baseball will come back, and then the USFL will come back. And this is something that the XFL 2.0 era never faced. They never went into games into March Madness. The season had stopped. March Madness was canceled because of you-know-what. So this is all new territory, and I am sure next year when it comes to scheduling games, the XFL will probably do a lot better job, but we'll see. They could still flex as we keep moving through the season. Let us know what you think in the comments. The Vegas Vipers made some moves by hiring Mike Newton as an assistant coach. So they made some moves on Monday, hired former Robert Morris assistant coach Mike Newton. Mike has experience as a DB coach at Newberry College and later transferred to South Carolina Athletics. Later became the OC for Juanita College from 2010 to 2014. Just recently, though, he was an assistant coach where he was the special teams coordinator and helped coach the wide receivers. He also had prior experience at Clarion as an offensive coordinator from 2019 to 2022. So Vegas Vipers making some moves. The same day, they also activated Isaiah Williams, an offensive guard, after they placed him on the list 5 days prior. Mr. Harrell, a safety who hasn't played a single snap on defense or special teams, was released to make room for Isaiah Williams on the roster. There's some changes there. Also, coaching news, Devin Bush Sr. joins the Guardians. So Orlando Guardians head coach Terrell Buckley announced the hiring of Devin Bush Sr. to the team's coaching staff as a defensive analyst, where he'll have input at all three levels of defense. Pleased to have him. National championship, won a Super Bowl. Bush played 8 seasons in the NFL, including a Super Bowl championship with the St. Louis Rams in '99. Prior to his time in the NFL, he was a standout safety at Florida State from 1992 to '94. Bush was a first-round NFL draft selection by the Atlanta Falcons in '95. Played 116 career games in the NFL with 428 total tackles, 7 interceptions, 2 of which were returned for touchdowns. Nice. In addition to the Falcons and Rams, he also played for the Cleveland Browns. Now, at Florida State, Bush was a 2-time All-Atlantic Coast Conference performer and won a national championship with the Seminoles in '93. Bush coached at Charles W. Flanagan High School in Pembroke Pines, Florida, beginning in 2013. From there, he joined the staff at the University of Michigan, where he served as defensive analyst from 2016 to 19. Recently, Bush was the director of player personnel at Ole Miss, beginning in 2020. Bush replaces former defensive line coach Ty Warren, who has accepted another coaching position, or was let go, we're not really sure, but says he went somewhere else. With Warren's departure, defensive coaching responsibilities are now follows. Defensive line is Mark Snyder. Linebackers is Ronnie Lee, and secondary and defensive coordinator is Tony Carter. Bush is also a native of Hialeah, Florida, and a graduate of Miami Lakes High School. So some changes going around on the coaching staff, some teams that are not doing very well, trying to mix things up and get things going. We have our Week 6 quarterback rankings from our man Pat Ruffino. So with the Week 6 coming to, basically we're getting to the halfway point, past the halfway point. As Week 6 comes into the fold, the XFL has seen its first major injury at quarterback, Reed Sinnott, breaking his foot. We'll see Quentin Dormady make his first professional start per the Orlando Sentinel this Saturday as well. De'Ara King, so here's the honorable mentions. De'Ara King pushes back to his normal honorable mention after being number 7 last week. King's fall from the rankings has nothing to do with play. It's more to do with volume. Didn't really do much last game. Cole McDonald also gets an honorable mention, but of course, due to workload, he kind of moves into that honorable mention slot. Number 10, Jack Cohn, San Antonio Brahmas. Previously was 8. He's down to 10. 7-15, 42 yards, no touchdowns, 2 picks, nothing really on there. Looks like Cohn has continued to regress. That Hines Ward started Reed Sinnott. In Week 5, Reed looked good, but then got hurt. And then Cohn came in and played like Cohn usually does. He faltered as the Brahmas were unable to get anything going. And they did have a shot. I mean, the game was close. They just couldn't get it going. He might have his final opportunity to prove himself as a professional QB with Juwan Pass waiting for a chance to prove himself now that Reed Sinnott is out for the season. However, they do have a new quarterback in Ben Kirk, who has just been signed. So, but that is too early to tell his impact right now, which was a big signing and trade for the San Antonio Brahmas. Kyle Sloter, number 9, stays at number 9, 14 of 26, 148 passing yards, no touchdowns and an interception. Nothing going on here. He's just not been playing well. Despite being a 1-2 record as a starter, he has put together offensive outings of 10, 11, and 12 points. So we're going to get 13. He's got his guy, Sal Cannella. He's getting the stuff. But they just made a signing, getting Victor Bolden Jr. from he was originally the MVP of the championship game in the USFL. Now he comes to Arlington, and they've made some changes, getting rid of Jordan Smallwood and bringing in Victor Bolden. They needed help on the offensive and wide receiver as a playmaker, and it looks like this could be help. I don't think he'll play much. I mean, he was just there, but he's in game shape. Well, but the Arlington could have a run now that they got Victor Bolden, who is one of the dynamic players in the USFL. Number 8, Reed Sinnott, played great. He was unranked. Now he was at 8. 13 of 19, 97 yards passing, but a touchdown and interception. Just the offense looked better under him. That was until he hurt his foot, and then that was it. Paxton Lynch was 5 last week, down to 7. 5 of 9, 47 passing yards. Didn't really do much on the ground. And Quentin Dormandy, who got newly reinstated, he looked a lot better. He definitely gave them a spark and looked like a guy. Quentin Dormandy, now he was previously unranked. Now he's at number 6. 22 of 25, 256 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. What else can you say? Also connecting with, he was on fire. Dormandy played fearless. He played well throughout the game. The Orlando Sentinel. Cody Latimer with the big game there. 1 touchdown, 8 catches, 124 yards. They have the wide receivers. They have the tight end and Latimer. They have the parts on offense. Is just who is going to be the guy facilitator. Quentin Dormandy looks like he could be the guy. We'll see how he does this week. Definitely keep an eye on him this week. Luis Perez, number 5, stays at number 5, 20 of 28, 269 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Not turning over the ball. That's what they want. That's what they want. He looked poised, calm, was able to step into his throws. They look good. Now, the Vipers may be the odd man out in the north. They do have a chance to play spoiler with the Battlehawks coming to Vegas this weekend. We'll have to keep an eye on that. Ben DiNucci was at 3, down to 4. 17 of 32, 209 passing yards, 1 touchdown, 3 picks. We thought that they would have. They did win. They did make the upset, but DiNucci, despite that, didn't look all that great. And remember, Houston has got a great defense, so we'll kind of give them some slack on that. But they did beat Houston, so he gets bumped. Moved up, Jordan Ta'amu was previously 4 with the undefeated DC Defenders, America's team. 12 of 18 for 90 yards, no touchdowns, no picks, 8 rushing attempts for 23 yards. But all they didn't really need to do anything because Abram Smith just ran all over the place. But having Ta'amu as a guy who can run the ball, that makes offense that much more dynamic because this time we're going to run the ball. Then they drop it to Abram Smith, and he just goes for 200 yards, and the rest is history. Brendan Silvers, number 2, kind of the MVP between him and A.J. McCarron. But this game, 25 of 47, 227 passing yards, a touchdown, and a pick. He kind of didn't look like his normal self. A lot of overthrows that were going on during the game. And they lost. Houston Roughnecks are now no longer undefeated after all these years. Finally, A.J. McCarron, he was 2, moved up to 1, 22 of 34, 236 passing yards, and 2 TDs and 1 pick. And he looked good. The team looked good, except, they had the run deal with Abram Smith, but they were still in the game. So there you have it with There's still the top 3 guys, A.J. McCarron, Brandon Silvers, Jordan Ta'amu, and Ben DiNucci. There could be some new guys. Perez, Quentin Dormandy, and there's some other guys along the way that could make an impact before the season's over. Arlington Renegades' Bob Stoops talks about Victor Bolden and Brian Herrien. We know him because we interviewed him on the show, and Jordan Smallwood was waived. So on Wednesday, there was a press conference, and the announcement was made that Victor Bolden has signed. Brian Herrien is also signed. Kenneth Farrow hurt his knee and on injured reserve, and it sounds like he might be out for the season. Then they waived Jordan Smallwood, who we had high up on our list that basically had not done anything all season. He was waived. So during this, talked about Bolden made a name for himself as one of the best players in the USFL when he played for the Birmingham Stallions in 2022, led the league in total yards with 1,209 and 1 touchdown in the regular season. During this championship game, Bolden was the MVP. Actually got a chance to interview him after the game. 6 passes for 64 yards and a touchdown, and had a 43-yard kickoff return as well. He ended the season with an all-USFL selection for his performance. In the NFL, Bolden started with a stint with Arizona Cardinals before being released in September. Most recently was with the Broncos practice squad before they was waived. Coach Stoops spoke of what he'd get in the move with Bolden and Smallwood. Just that a guy's got really great speed, different player style. Jordan was awesome and a great leader for us. I think getting a little more speed on the field helps. So going into the regular season, Smallwood came in as the starting wide receiver for the team and even praised from Coach Stoops for his performance during training camp. In 5 games, though, caught 3 passes for 33 yards. Even Stoops spoke highly of Smallwood and the impact he had on the team. He just wasn't getting anything done. Herrien comes in to replace Farrow after he was placed on the injured reserve list during his 4th season at Georgia. Rushed for 1,413 yards and 13 touchdowns. He was most recently with the DC Defenders in training camp before the season began. He was waived as well. So those are some big name signings with the Victor Bolden. Also, St. Louis Battlehawks reinstated Jared Jones-Smith and released Puka Williams. They traded for Puka Williams. This was kind of a surprise. Mike Mitchell was high on Puka coming into 2023 but due to his versatility, but it appears something just isn't gel with his time with DC and now St. Louis, so he was released. Offensive tackle Jaron Jones, who was inactive the past 2 weeks due to his involvement with the brawl at Audi Field, and the corresponding move, St. Louis released Puka Williams. So they brought back in an offensive tackle and released Puka Williams. He didn't really play at all during any of the games, but now they get that offensive line. That's something critical for all these teams is the offensive line play. So Jared Jones is in, Puka Williams is out. But hey, any of these guys could get signed. One of the big trades that happened, a transaction between the Houston Roughnecks and the, let's see here, maybe this is better. The Houston Roughnecks activated Kurt Benkert, who we thought was not going to have any interest, and that was the word was that he wasn't going to play. They activated it from the reserve list. Then the Houston Roughnecks in San Antonio announced a trade. Houston sent Drew Lewis, a linebacker out of Colorado, and Kurt Benkert, QB come from Virginia, is now in San Antonio. This is big news for the Brahmas. This was a top guy that people were talking about in the league, wanting to be in the league, and now that he is in San Antonio, it looks like he is definitely destined, probably not this week, but definitely next week, possibly, or weeks 8, 9, 10 to kind of close out the XFL season. It's only a couple weeks of work for him. Maybe he can get some playing time and get some looks from NFL teams, and I guess that's why he kind of decided, hey, let's just try it. It's only a couple weeks, and let's give it a shot. Also, some transactions going on in the XFL this past week. Aside from this happening, we wanted to kind of go over the XFL transaction wire just to kind of keep an eye on who's the comings and goings. So Ben DeLuca, safety, went on the reserve list. Reed Sinnott is out for the season, so now we see that move there. Some other things, Kurt Benkert got the trade. We talked about that. Jalen Tolliver is now active. Kurt Benkert is active. Kenneth Farrow on the injured reserve. Jaquel Robertson, wide receiver, is now active because they've had some injuries at the wide receiver, losing Kirkland for the season. That was kind of an MVP guy talk. Brian Herrien, we talked about him, and Victor Bolden there. Jalen Tolliver is released. That was kind of a surprise. Darius Robinson also was released, so they got rid of 2 wide receivers there in San Antonio. Actually, let's look at, is this better? Nope. How about that? Nope. Where is that even looking at? Let's go here. Katie Cannon from the DC Defenders, he was released, and Jordan Smallwood. We talked about John Trey Kirkland being on the injured reserve as well. They activated, Brahmas activated 2 other wide receivers, Calvin Turner and Landon Akers as well. That's kind of been the main things going on this past week for some transactions there. So what we're gonna do is we'll take a little commercial break, and we'll be right back with our DFS picks, the XFL ladder, and so much more. So stay tuned, my friends.
Get ready for the biggest XFL season yet with RunTheSims.com, your ultimate toolkit for XFL DFS and prop betting. With DraftKings offering XFL contests with huge prize pools, you want to have the best tools and player projections at your fingertips. And Run the Sims delivers with their lineup optimizer, showdown simulator, and expert pick'em tools for prize picks and underdog. So here's the deal. Use code NEWSHUB for 10% off a monthly or weekly spring football subscription and get access to accurate projections to help you make informed decisions and make that money. That's runthesims.com. Use the promo code NEWSHUB for 10% off. So if you followed spring football and in the past, you know the information edge can be massive. So if you want to win big, subscribe to runthesims.com and use the promo code NEWSHUB today to save 10% off.
All right, we are back, my friends. What's up, everybody in the chat? Appreciate you guys stopping by. T. Cook in the house. Chris Mason, as always. Bros, thanks for stopping by. T. Cook says, OMG, was St. Antonio versus Arlington poopy? Yes, it was. Chris says, Dormady will spark. St. Louis is a penalty machine. Brahma's stock just went up. They've definitely, you got Victor Bolden. Bros, he says, Chris Blair is now #1 wide receiver. I don't know what to take about. David checking in says the Brahmas are better than the Renegades, but their offense is even more of a trash fire. Arlington is living a lie. David says, Arlington is living a lie. Isn't that from, not Weatherman or something like that? One of those deals. Anyway, make sure you sign up for Alt Football on Reddit, where we got all of our latest news and information on there. Let's get right into some injuries and transactions and all sorts of stuff. Let's see here. Get into the injuries for this week. Let's see. Oh, here it is. There we go. All right, so we have nothing for the Houston Roughnecks right now. Seattle Sea Dragons. Morgan Ellison's questionable. He didn't really play that well last week, so it's a guy that maybe you want to stay away from. But mostly everybody's probable or questionable for the DC St. Louis game, even though it's a bit early to kind of figure this out. A lot of injuries. Ethan Wolf, we knew he was going to be out. Raquel Armstead, out. So if you want to start Abram Smith, could be a guy to start this week because he is going to be the main guy there. Michael Joseph, everybody else seems to be probable, just kind of nicked up, but good to see, everybody else seems to be good, including people on the offensive line. Stephen Mitchell, a guy that started playing well as of late. He had a quad injury, but he is probable, so everybody's looking okay on the St. Louis Battlehawks side of things. On the Guardians, concussion, DeAndre Francois, he's questionable now, so it looks like he could be making his way back. Martavis Bryant, doubtful. So he did not practice, no practice / travel, so we'll see what happens with him. J.P. Dawson, a linebacker, is out. Isaiah Williams, offensive lineman, has been suspended. Not really sure what's that all about, so he is out. The rest of the guys on there, Brent Hundley and Sean Price, for example, on offense, all look like they are probable, with Robert Windsor as potentially doubtful for the game. For the Arlington San Antonio, Javonte Patton, wide receiver with a concussion, he's probable, but Edmund Robinson, a linebacker, a good linebacker, he is out, and so is Jake Stentz, offensive lineman. You don't want to see that. Travis Johnson, back. He is out, wide receiver there. TJ Vasher is probable on the offensive side. Other than that, and then they have Mike Scott, their defensive end, is going to be out. So there is what you have for the latest injury notes. On to the depth charts. Next up is the depth charts. I don't know if you could see that. This is about as, and I can get probably closer maybe. Let's see if we can get closer to help you guys out. How's that? Move this up. All right. So for Arlington Renegades, Victor Bolden is on the list as a backup to Javonte Patton. Maybe Bolden sees some time. We'll have to find out how quickly he can get things up. Sal Cannella, of course, there. Starting quarterback is Kyle Sloter, who I still think should be, and Devon Smith. Brandon Arcondo is back in, and so is Tyler Vaughn. But we'll see if Victor Bolden could be a big-time get for the Arlington Renegades. On offensive side for the San Antonio Brahmas, Travis Tovin is out there. Lees Mack is a guy. But again, Jack Cohn and Juwan Pass are your two quarterbacks. So I wonder if Pass will see some time. Stay away from the running backs. Kalen Ballage, Jaquez Patrick, they haven't done anything. TJ Vasher is listed on here, and so is Calvin Turner and Landon Akers. So Turner could be a guy to kind of keep an eye on. But again, these things could change going forward. On the Vegas St. Louis side of thing, Hakeem Butler, Jake Sutherland, all players. A.J. McCarron is the guy. Austin Pearl, Darius Shepard are all guys. Guys are starting to get excited about George Campbell as a possibility as a guy going forward, so keep an eye on him. On the Vegas Vipers side of offense, Geronimo Allison will be the starter. Luis Perez is still the guy. And Jeff Badette. Martavis Bryant looks like he's out. So Sneak Sweeting is another guy to keep an eye on. But again, the Vegas Vipers, I feel like, are so close. Could this be an upset? I don't know. But they seem so close. They have good defensive players. You know, we haven't seen anything from Martavis Bryant. And I think they have some playmakers on the offensive side. We'll kind of have to see how that goes. Orlando, Seattle. Quentin Dormandy or Paxton Lynch. Should be Quentin Dormandy all the way. Cody Latimer is a guy. Eli Rogers. Lance Lenoir, another good guy. Charleston Rambo can play well on the offensive side. So, I mean, they've got wide receivers. They just need a quarterback to get them the ball. DeAndre Francois is listed as third on this list. However, I mean, they do have 4 quarterbacks. So we will find out with that because Francois had the concussion, but he seems to be back in the mix. Seattle Sea Dragons on offense. Damon Willis, guy in there. Ben DiNucci, Darius Bradwell, Ja'Cour Pearson is a guy. Blake Jackson, Juwan Green are the guys there on offense for them to keep an eye on that. But everything looks pretty normal here. And on the Houston DC Defenders, now this game is out farther, but on the Defenders offense, Josh Hammond, Abram Smith, of course, Raquel Armstead is out, so Raymond Callis will be the backup there. Let's see, wide receiver, Jaquez Ezzard and Lucky Jackson. Jazz Ferguson and Chris Blair. Chris Blair is listed behind Lucky Jackson. Jaquez Ezzard is back. And they also have Jazz Ferguson, a guy who was a player in the XFL in 2020. So keep an eye on what they go with there on as far as the Roughnecks offense. Justin Smith, you know, you've got Max Borghi, you've got Brandon Silvers, Travell Harris could be a guy to see a lot of action. Cedric Bird, Deontay Burnett. Who is going to be the guy from the Houston Roughnecks offense to step up and be a player on there? So let's see here. Let's go to the DraftKings picks right now, while of course it logs me out. Thank you very much, guys. Appreciate you. Okay, so what we're going to talk about first, well, before we go quickly into the DraftKings stuff, because DraftKings is like impossible. I have not won anything in DraftKings, and I'm doing a $2 double up bet just to kind of hang out because I'm just getting wrecked when it comes to DFS. But if you want to, this is kind of the lineup I have this week. Ben DiNucci, a guy, have him go against Orlando. I would love to put in Abram Smith. The problem is he is 9,400. I just didn't have the money, so I kind of dialed it down. Brian Hill's been playing well, and he's playing against Vegas. Houston's got a good defense. I don't think Abram Smith is going to go for 200 yards. And Max Borghi, same thing. DZ has got a good defense. kind of staying away from that guy when it comes to running backs, but I like Brian Hill against Vegas. Houston, I think Cedric Byrd could be a guy that takes over. Sal Cannella is always a safety valve. We'll see if Victor Bolden has any kind of play. I'm going with Lucky Jackson, kind of on the downside of things, and Cody Latimer. I think him and Quentin Dormandy. And I'm going with the Sea Dragons defense. Basically, I'm playing anybody who is Orlando. Playing anybody who's playing against Orlando on defense. As for my picks this week, Seattle Sea Dragons at Orlando Guardians. Saturday, the 25th at 1 p.m. 26-16, I've got the Seattle Sea Dragons over Orlando Guardians. I just don't think they can make it happen. Saturday night, 7 p.m. on FX and ESPN. Oh, by that game is on ABC. The St. Louis Battlehawks, Vegas Vipers at 7 p.m. on FX. I think Battlehawks will be fine, 24-12. I think Vegas could probably score a little bit more points. I mean, we saw what happened to the Battlehawks defense with Abram Smith running all over them. And I think Vegas Vipers it's just the Vegas Vipers defense. This could be a little bit more high scoring than this. San Antonio Brahmas, Arlington Renegades. Does that score look familiar? Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern, again on ABC. Unfortunately, you would love to have that Houston Roughnecks DC Defenders game on ABC, but we'll take it. I just, with Reed Sinnett out and Jack Cohen in, and they just faced each other, maybe Arlington will score a little bit more points this time. I mean, Kirk Benkirk isn't going to play yet, so this could be ugly. This could be the last game for. Maybe we see some Juwan Pass in here. Maybe he sparks something. Houston Roughnecks against America's team. Did the Houston Roughnecks lose 2 games in a row? This is in DC. I know the tickets are selling well. I know DC is hyped. This is on ESPN2 at 7 p.m. Eastern. I've got a close one, 24-28 DC Defenders with the win on that one. So now what we need to get into is what the ladder is for this week. So if you remember last week, we had something called the ladder. It's a $5 bet. And what you do is you bet the one spread, one over, under, and one money line. And you bet $5. We tried to start it last week, but we got the big upset with the Houston. So I just basically stopped paying attention to it after that. So we're going to try again. We're going to start up the ladder this week. So you bet $5. If we can win and hit all these 3, we got one spread, one over under, one money line. If we hit that, then we win $23. Then we take that $23 next week and do another spread, over under, money line, trying to go with the safest bets that I can in here. So the picks that I have for you, let's see here, is as follows, and we'll put them out over here. So I've got the St. Louis Battlehawks. I've got the spread, the St. Louis Battlehawks. So I'm picking the spread here, -3. I think they will definitely win by more than 3 points against the Vegas Vipers. I'm not worried about that. The over-under, I am taking the 33 under with the San Antonio Brahmas, Arlington Renegades. With Jack Cohen has not played well. They're going to play these same people again. I don't think they're going to score anything. Maybe the only saving grace for breaking the over on this is if Kyle Sloter finally puts it together, but I'm still not even feeling that. And I just think it's just the Brahmas quarterback situation is unfortunate right now. And then finally, the last bet that I have, Seattle Sea Dragons, just picking the money line. I don't know if these guys are going to score a ton of points. I don't know if it's going to be closer because, Ben DiNucci's been throwing some picks. And so this one I wanted to stay away from, but I do feel comfortable that Seattle Sea Dragons will win. So I just took the money line. So then I took the spread. So basically a $5 bet on that would net you $22.89. So it's kind of around that level of where we're kind of playing at. So I've got Seattle Sea Dragons with the money line. I picked the spread for the St. Louis Battlehawks, and the Arlington Renegades, I look for the under. The one I'm most concerned about, but not really, and I wanted to stay away from Houston Roughnecks DC Defenders. I don't know what we're going to get with that game. It could be a defensive battle. Are they going to score over 42 points? I mean, they have high-powered offense, but they both have really good defenses. Who knows? So I kind of wanted to stay away from that one. So this is kind of what you want to do is kind of go with the sure bet. So I've got the under for the San Antonio Brahmas and Renegades game. That's your ladder picks. And remember, this is what the ladder is. We put a $5 bet. Then hopefully if we win, then we do next week, we do 23. And hopefully by the end of the season, we can win $10,000. Wouldn't that be nice? You just got to bet what we win every week. So a $5 bet, If we do it right, can get that at the end. But we got wrecked because there was an upset, and nothing is ever, 100% when it comes to this stuff. All right, let's see here. David said also the Guardians may have lost last week, but Dormandy is the guy, News Hub TM. Yes, I believe that, right, Dormandy should be the guy. He should be the guy. Very 20 of 25, consistent. That's what they need. Robert says go Sea Dragons, and David says it's his top 4 in order. DC, Houston, St. Louis, Dragons 4. I think that's pretty good. I think there's a clear divide from them to the bottom. But man, oh man, I love this league. Great show as always, brother. Oh, thank you, David. I appreciate that. And I appreciate everybody stopping in on this kind of late night podcast that we wanted to put together. I was like, let's just go live. So make sure you smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. We appreciate all that. It's good stuff. And remember, if you want to be part of this next week's show, which is going to take place on Tuesday, email podcast@XFL News Hub with your thoughts, record an MP3 or video on your phone. We'll play it on next week's show. Leave a voicemail, 888-430-7692, extension 3. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, and, of course, watch our show live. Just not live as the normal times, et cetera, because we haven't been able to do that. All right, my friends, I appreciate you. As always, God bless. Thanks for stopping by. Now I got to go to bed, crank it up in the morning. Love you all. Peace out. God bless, and I will see you all later.